It's the wintertime of 2018 to 2019. I'm 13 years old up to this particular point, and I'm halfway through my 7th grade year in middle school. Now, during this particular time, I had really bad ADHD that was being treated by medication that made me really sort of hyperactive during the day, or more so sped up, if you know what I mean. This particular medication actually later on down the line during May of 2019 caused me to have 2 seizures in one single night, which I'm actually sort of glad happened because after that point I got off this particular medication. But just to give you some sort of context for the rest of the story to come, this sort of ignited hyperactivity acted as a push for me to think less and act more. Now, around this time at school, we were having a lot of sort of class assemblies where the police would actually come in and talk to us about the dangers of drugs, stimuli, and all that sort of stuff. Now, at this time, which was a pretty common theme for me at this particular point in my life, I had a very weird hobby that no one else at my school did. Now, this activity was sort of actually like a take on the bottle flip trend from back in 2016, but instead of using bottles to flip, I used markers. Now, I was very serious about this particular hobby, and I would spend up to hours and hours a day after school doing it. Most days when I'd come home from school, I didn't want to do anything else but just flip, so I could land that next flip to get that next dopamine hit from putting in the time to do something that was hard to do. So because of this, I had heaps upon heaps of different markers from all different brands just lying around my bedroom floor. Now, going back to the police talks at school, there was an officer who I actually knew because he was the father of a girl who was in the same grade that I was in. And he started talking about how you can get a similar stimulus off the whiff of marker ink that you do from any other sort of recreational stimulant. And immediately when my 13-year-old brain hears this, I sort of just stop dead in my tracks. At this particular point, I don't think any of us know anyone at our particular age level who's into vaping, smoking, or getting their head in the clouds, if you know what I mean. I just know that from what I've heard in the past, it makes people feel good. It makes them feel as though they're almost on like cloud 9. I have no knowledge on the consequences of these practices outside of simply just doing them, and I don't know anyone who's got anything. I'm just a 13-year-old kid who's just picked up some new knowledge at school today that I had the choice of either using to my potential benefit or detriment. When I get home that day, I can sort of vaguely remember walking into my room, grabbing one of the markers, and just stopping and thinking to myself for a second, man, I wonder if I really can get myself feeling good off this stuff. I take a whiff, don't feel anything different. I take another one, still nothing. I'm just sitting there for minutes on end, sniffing, trying to get some sort of feeling off of this stuff. But as time goes on, I'm hardly feeling anything different. Sure, maybe my head's a little bit lighter compared to before, but at this point I'm pretty disappointed with the sensation that I've received from doing it for as long as I was. Now fast forward a couple days, potentially even a couple weeks later, and I'm doing an Instagram live call with one of my friends at the time. Now keep in mind, this account had a fair amount of followers, and a lot of these kids were either people who went to my school or who were in my grade. And during this live stream, I'm telling my buddy at the time, who was in sort of the same community of kids who enjoyed flipping the markers, about what I've just learned at school the other day. Him and I, both being 13 years old at the time, are very keen on doing this right here, right now, on Instagram Live, as I'm sitting at hundreds of followers, with anyone being able to join at any time. I understand that the reason why I didn't feel much off of the last time I was doing this was because maybe I wasn't using a strong enough marker, or maybe I just wasn't doing it for long enough. But when I did this, I can remember it sort of being around New Year's time, so Christmas had just passed by this point. I had gotten these really good markers for Christmas that year, but what I can remember about these markers is that they weren't only just good to flip with, they were also very strong. So I'm absolutely eager to try these out while me and him are just sort of sitting there for a little while. When we get to sniffing, I'm practically stuffing the ink up my nose, getting it on the outside of my nose from what I can remember, and we're starting to really feel the effects of this coming on. We're having a giggle, me and him, and things are starting to feel great. We're having fun and everything's all good. Until I suddenly see the notification that a new person has just joined the live stream. And when I see the name, just like earlier on, I immediately stop dead in my tracks. The person who has just joined the live is none other than the daughter of the cop who had told me and my entire class about the dangers of sniffing the markers and the stimuli that it releases in your brain. Now all I'm thinking to myself at the time is, fuck, I might be screwed. She might tell her dad what we've been doing. I might be in some trouble. I've just fucked up really bad. I immediately tell my friend, I've got to end this. He's asking why. I'm just saying something along the lines of, I'll tell you later. And then that was that. I'm sort of in a panic mode at this point. I go downstairs into the living room. I'm like walking around on top of the couches for some reason. And I have all these different emotions and sort of feelings I've never felt before flowing through me at that moment. I'm so nervous, but at the same time, I'm higher than I've ever been in my entire life up to this point. My head feels like it has absolutely made its home on cloud 9, but at the same time, I'm still stressing so much about what has just happened. My mom walks into the room. I'm not going to tell her what has just happened, never mind all the details, but I can see that she can sense something is up, and I'm not acting or behaving like my usual self at all. She doesn't end up questioning me too much about it, so I just go back upstairs, tell my friend what has just happened, and he clearly understands why I did what I needed to do. I wasn't in any trouble. That girl wasn't a snitch, or at least I think not, because if the school did find out about it, I could have definitely been in some potential trouble. After this experience, I hardly ever went back to doing this activity, maybe at most did it every couple months or weeks. The last time I can remember doing it was back in June of 2023. And between then and the time that this story takes place, I probably only participated in it about 1 to 2 dozen times. So if not for this sobering or potentially detrimental situation for myself, I would have probably kept doing it, would have probably gotten into harder vices, gained more of a dependency over time, and all that sort of stuff. But if it wasn't for this mistake I made, I would have potentially fallen deeper down the rabbit hole of this quick dopamine, and I would have ended up in a much worse off position than I am today. In conclusion, guys, if you feel tempted to try something like I did, whether it be out of curiosity, an urge to look cool, or anything like that, I want you to understand the consequences that come with giving in to that particular thing. Ask yourself if the potential consequences of this thing are worth doing for the potential relief or satisfaction that comes with giving in. If you're enough of a wimp to go for that short-term pleasure anyway, don't be like my dumbass 13-year-old self and go live with it or something similar to that, because anything could happen. I hope this message helped you today, my friend. Keep putting in that work towards becoming at least 1% better each and every day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.